Welcome back to the channel, you guys. So, it's December. We're in the last week of the year. Christmas is past. Um, you know, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? I don't know. 2026 is coming, and I'm kind of feeling good. I got a few big goals that I wanted to complete, by the end of the year, completed this year. So I kind of feel good. I'm feeling good. I don't know how everybody else is feeling, but, you know, and I want to pop out a few more videos this week. So I was like, I'm gonna get up today. I'm gonna record the Marty Supreme video, and we're gonna get down to it together. You know what I mean? So yes, today I am here to talk about Marty Supreme, but I also want to talk about Timothee Chalamet in totality. I kind of just want to I think what I'll do is I'll talk about Marty Supreme because I did see Marty Supreme, and then I will rank all of his performances, and then through all of that, we should be able to have a full-on conversation about him. So, Marty Supreme stars Timothee Chalamet, of course, as Marty Mauser, our protagonist. It also stars Odessa Zion as Rachel Misler, Gwyneth Paltrow as Kay Stone, Kevin O'Leary as Milton Rockwell, Tyler the Creator basically as himself, but as Marty's best friend, Wally. Abel Ferrara is also in this film as Ezra, and then we also have a new actor, I feel like, Koto Kawaguchi. I hadn't seen him in anything until this film, but maybe I'm mistaken. I need to go look at his filmography a little bit more. Yes, and the film is produced by A24. It's written by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein, but I don't know if it has Ronald Bronstein on there because this was adapted from some type of novel or something, but I'll look at that later. I probably should have looked at that before. Oh well. And then it's directed by Josh Safdie himself. So what's my history with Josh Safdie? I don't have any history with Josh Safdie, honestly. So obviously we all know that Josh Safdie and his brother Benny Safdie, or Ben Safdie, were the creators of Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler in 2019. I have still not seen Uncut Gems. I remember when Uncut Gems was the talk of the town in 2019, but I was just going through a lot. I was sophomore year of college. If you want some lore about me, sophomore year of college was my hardest year of college for some reason. There was just so much going on in my personal life, but also school was beating me down. I don't know why, but it was just a hard year. So I really kind of tapped out of film in 2019 in totality. And so Uncut Gems, I was hearing about it, hearing about all the stuff, Julia Fox, Adam Sandler, you had The Weeknd in it and all this stuff. And I was just I just don't really care. I don't really care. And so I don't have any history with the Safdie brothers, honestly. The only history I do have is that I did see The Smashing Machine earlier this year, about 2 months ago, and The Smashing Machine was created, written, and directed by Benny Safdie, and this film, Marty Supreme, is created, written, and directed by Josh Safdie. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's some lore there. I'm not tapped into the lore between the brothers. I don't know why they separated. You would think that after Uncut Gems was such a successful film, they would have created another film together. I know they had the film Good Time in 2017, starring Robert Pattinson, but you think once you're getting that notoriety, you do it, you still go on to do more notable things together. But maybe something happened between them. I don't know. I need to look it up. Maybe I need to go on Twitter. Maybe I need to go on Reddit, see what's going on between them. But I guess now they're trying to show where their individual talents lie rather than collaborative, because maybe that was a criticism from Uncut Gems potentially. Or maybe it's just a response. I can see that. I can see Uncut Gems got so much flair, and now people are but they did it together. What can they do separate? And there's a lot of brother pairings in Hollywood, the Duffer Brothers, and then you have the Russo brothers and stuff like that, and people who make bad films. So maybe they were just maybe we need to prove that we can make good films separately, and then we make really good films together. But I haven't seen Uncut Gems, so I don't know. Maybe Uncut Gems is bad. Maybe I won't like Uncut Gems. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan, post 2015, I would say. I think Grown Ups really was the last Adam Sandler product that I liked, and obviously it's a kids movie and I watched it when I was a kid, so who knows what Uncut Gems really is holding up in terms of quality. But today we're here to talk about Marty Supreme. So when did I see this film? I saw this film on Christmas Eve, because for some reason you couldn't see this film the week prior. I get it, they're trying to do the whole Christmas release type of thing that Timothee Chalamet does, or has been doing since 3 years ago. But why couldn't I see this the Saturday before, Timothy? Josh, can you answer that for me? Nevertheless, I saw this on Christmas Eve, and I saw this like at 11:30 a.m. on Christmas Eve because I was like, let me just get up and go. And I went to the movie theater, and I actually had to sit next to somebody who had like a mountain of food. And I think I want to do like a food. I think I want to do like a cinephile X video because like there's just some things that like if you're a person who goes to the movies frequently and you're somebody who shares tastes like with me, like you know that like walking up to your seat in the theater and seeing someone have like a mountain of food sitting next to you and not really having faith that this is a quiet eater, it's kind of like one of the most like humbling experiences, kind of, because you know this is a public place, but also like one of the most like defeating feelings. Like I thought I was gonna come here to watch a good film and not be interrupted in any way, and now I'm sitting next to somebody who can't keep their mouth closed and is eating for 2 hours on end. But I digress. I digress. How do we feel about Marty Supreme? I think Marty Supreme is a perfectly fine film. I really do. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. So then like there's like there's just some things that's going on in this film that like really touch me, and then there's some things that really don't hit me. And so what am I talking about? Let me just give you like a quick overview of the film, right? So basically Marty Supreme is a tale about Marty Mauser, a 23-year-old young man who is existing during the 1950s and trying to excel to the top of the professional tennis table league and reach heights of success far from his current reach, right? So it's a tale about just wanting to become successful. You know, you're young, ambitious, and you know, you're living in the city, right? I guess. Even though this film is like set in like 1950 New York, I don't really feel like we're in New York in this film. Like, yeah, they have like a few shots on the street, but like the film is really like inside. Like a lot of the scenes that happen in this film are happening like inside, and there's not really like outside of like people's voices, like what the accents you hear. There's not really a lot of things like calling to like New York. Not really, in my opinion. So like I wouldn't even say it's like really a film that's like based about New York or just like a New York film. Like it's not that. It's really a film about like Timothee Chalamet. Like honestly, like Marty Supreme is just Timothee Chalamet. We're gonna get into that. So what occurs in this film? Basically, we start with Marty as a shoe salesman. We open the film. Well, we kind of open the film with like this embryo creation process between like sperm cells and an egg, and it's kind of like a new way of doing it. It's kind of like a very very like iridescent, like very soft pastel coloring like depiction of a sperm cell connecting to an egg. What you like understand when you get to the end of the film, I presume. But you start with that, and then we cut to the film, and it starts with Marty at his shoe salesman's job. And from there, we basically just travel through all the interconnected relationships that Marty has with the people in his life. From that opening scene, we see the current standpoint of Marty has with his managers and his coworkers. So like he doesn't want to escalate at this job. He just needs his job so he can get money to pursue like his interest in regards to table tennis. But we also see his dynamic with, you know, his older boss who wants him to be the manager. And then we also see the dynamic with his coworker who wants to be the manager, not just wants him to be the manager. Then we go to like his sexual relationship with his co-star in Odessa Zion as the character of Rachel, and how their dynamic is, and they're kind of like childhood sweethearts. But then like Marty's not really focused on trying to be like like somebody's boyfriend right now, but she's like really interested into him. And then we get into the dynamics of like Marty and his mother and his uncle at home, and how like they just have like a really like bickering like relationship. It's a lot of like banter that occurs, a lot of sarcasm, a lot of dismissals, a lot of like angst in regards to them. And then you have Marty's friendship with Wally, who is played by Tyler the Creator. And so we see like how that dynamic works. We don't really get a lot of backstory on Wally in my belief. I don't think we really understand like how they met. We assume they met at the community table tennis center that we frequent within the film, and because like Wally does play table tennis to a certain degree of like, you know, ping pong acumen, I would say. And so it's like it seems like they bonded over their table tennis athleticism. Then we also go into the dealings he has with his athletic managers as well, right? And so there's a few different people who are like connected to him in regards to his athleticism when it comes to table tennis. And so you have like a mentor he has, but then he also has like an actual manager. And so we kind of, you know, just see like what his relationships are with them. And from the scene where he's having dinner or lunch or breakfast, I can't remember, with his table tennis, like, you know, advisory, I would say, Then we get introduced to Gwyneth Paltrow's character, who is K-Stone. And then we go from there, we go into their affair, and from their affair, how he becomes intertwined with Kay's husband, Milton Rockwell, played by Kevin O'Leary, and X, Y, and Z, right? And then it's just like the trials and tribulations that occur when it comes to like table tennis and him having to go against his like newfound rival and this Japanese star, Koto Endo, and all the things that like frustrate him about that and what he wants to do to like become successful and become the top player and win and prove to everybody that like somebody from America can really, a Jewish kid from America can really like be the best in the world at something and put like the world to shame post like, you know, World War II and all this stuff. Strengths within the film. Let's talk about like what I really liked about this film, right? So I think the first act of this film is really exhilarating. I think the first act of this film is probably the best part of the film. That first act, how we open the film to all like like everything I just said, basically, like the first act is literally just showing us like how Marty interacts with the people in his life. Everything in regards to that is it's so good. It's so good. It's well paced. The score or soundtrack is so good. I think Timothee Chalamet is firing on all cylinders here. His banter with everyone is perfect. Everyone is matching his energy to a certain extent. It does truly feel like everyone here who's not Timothee Chalamet is a supporting role. Like it doesn't feel like anyone else is living in like their own film or just like trying to take over what's occurring. It feels like they really truly are trying to like match Timothy in the proper way for the storytelling to occur. And I really, really love that and value that in this film. So yeah, overall, I think the world building here is just like really, really perfect. And then the film is also like very funny in my opinion. I'm trying to think of some comedic parts in the film that I really, really like. I think like all of his banter that he has with Ira, who's Rachel's like husband, I believe. That's really good. Like, oh, you want to get physical? Oh, you want to get physical? Like after he like basically just threatened him, or just like, you know, it's funny. It's funny. He's like antagonizing his like situationship's husband, right? There are a lot of Jewish jokes in this film. Now, this film is about Jewish people, right? And so this film like is occurring right off the back of World War II. And then we are like, you know, our main set piece is like Marty's building that he lives in with his mother and his uncle. And so everyone in this building is Jewish, I presume. So I believe everyone in this building is Jewish. You have like, I think Ira's Jewish. I think Rachel's Jewish. His mom is definitely Jewish. His uncle's Jewish. And then like his mom has like a whole bunch of people in the hallways and everything. It's a very communal building. So I believe everyone in this building is Jewish. And so it's a very Jewish film. Marty's Jewish himself. He references a lot. There's a lot of jokes in this film about like Judaism or just Jewish people or like the Holocaust or whatever, right? And I know that there's a lot of people who like watch this film and like I've heard a lot of people be like, those jokes are very egregious and like they didn't really like, you know, like, oh, they're surprised that like Josh and Timothy were able to pull off these jokes in such a story. And in my mind, I'm like, why? I'm like, why would it be hard to pull off jokes if everyone in this film is like supposed to be Jewish and the community is Jewish, and then like the people who he's saying these jokes to are usually Jewish. Like when he says it to the former like reigning champ that he beats at the end of the first act of the film, when he says that joke to him at the lunch table or dinner table, it was, I believe, that was like really, really egregious. I'm not even gonna repeat it, but when he says that joke to him, like it's a Jewish person saying something anti-Semitic, I guess, or just like saying something like, you know, not in favor of Jewish people to another Jewish person. So it's like nobody's like affected here. So when people were like, oh my gosh, like that was egregious, I was in the theater like being like, oh, that just, you know, makes sense. They talking to each other. That's their people. And then I think another thing that was really, really funny about this film is Kevin O'Leary, obviously, because I think that the genius part of including Kevin O'Leary in this film is that Kevin O'Leary is here just to play himself. Josh Safdie has said in interviews that he wanted to bring in people who he felt like could just fully embody themselves and match that to the characters that he's like the character archetypes he's trying to put in his film. So like Kevin O'Leary, he's basically playing himself. I don't even have to go into like anything if you are familiar with the persona of Kevin O'Leary outside, like inside of Shark Tank, but also outside of Shark Tank. If you understand how people view Kevin O'Leary, then you will know that he's playing this part like spot on. And he's really not even playing a part in my opinion. Like I don't think Kevin O'Leary is giving like a performance. I think Kevin O'Leary is literally just like, I know what you want to see. I can give that because I do that every day. And that's what he came to do. And so there's moments like when he says a vampire joke, when he's like, hey, I was born in 1601. I'm a fucking vampire. That was hilarious. I think honestly that might be like, is that the funniest thing I've seen in this film? And it's really not even funny because honestly, when he said it, I kind of was like, he's kind of like talking to us. I was like, Kevin is literally talking to us, y'all. Like if vampires like became a real thing, like if say tomorrow like vampires got announced in the news as being real or whatever, and they're like, oh, Kevin O'Leary is like a vampire, I would not flinch. Like I will believe him. And I think like when he said that, like I truly was like, Kevin O'Leary may be a vampire. That's why it's funny. It's kind of like meta, but it's also like not. So I thought that was really really smart. And then also they have like the banter between Marty and Milton, like when Marty's like, "No, I'm gonna eat," or like when Marty runs into him at the theater, or when Marty like is at his car door, things like that. I think those were like done really really well, very successful comedic beats. And I think the biggest strength of this film really is none other than himself, Mr. Timothée Chalamet. And like, what do I mean by that? Because like when I say Timothée Chalamet is the biggest strength of the film, I think it's because like this film is put on Timothée Chalamet's back. And I think that's on purpose. We can go into my criticisms of the film then, right? And so then it feels like this film is purely in service of Timothée Chalamet. I feel like personally, I'm a big fan of Timothée Chalamet. Like I've been obsessed with Timothée Chalamet since he hopped on the scene. That's when Timothée Chalamet hopped on the scene back in like 2016. I would say like really really like popped out. Like maybe like 2000 like late 2016 early 2017 when he really really popped out. I was just really getting into film then, like really, really trying to make sure that like I go see films and really like frequent the movie theaters and like make sure that like if something new is coming out, like I'm gonna go see it like within like a week or two. And so then I've been growing with Timothée Chalamet's career since I was like maybe like a senior in high school, and so I see every single Timothée Chalamet film. And the past, I would say like 3 Timothée Chalamet films have felt very like Timothée Chalamet films. They don't feel like they're like bigger than Timothée Chalamet. You get what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's kind of like niche for him, honestly. And maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm not. But I feel like with other like major superstars, like we could lose Leonardo DiCaprio because everybody wants to compare those two all day. But with Leonardo DiCaprio, like when you think of Leonardo DiCaprio's films, like let me think. When you think about Leonardo DiCaprio's films, you don't really think like that was like the Leo film. Like I don't know, like maybe outside of Revenant, like Revenant is a Leo film, right? But then like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like there's Brad Pitt there, there's you have Quentin Tarantino behind it, so it's just like oh that's like a whole film that Leo's in. Even one after another, like it's not really a Leonardo DiCaprio film, even though like he is one of the major pulls for the film. And like things like Inception and things like that, like it's not really like Leo is this film. But with Timothée Chalamet, the past 3 films that he's had, I believe, that he's released in Christmas. So you have like Marty Supreme, you have Wonka, and you have A Complete Unknown. Those all 3 feel like this is being done with the purpose of uplifting Timothée Chalamet to higher heights in his career. Not really like this is a story that really is trying to be told independent of Timothée Chalamet, and he's here to aid the story and being something major. It feels like it's for him. And like that's good for Timothée Chalamet or anybody who just wants to see Timothée Chalamet on their screen. But if you're not here for that, it becomes a detriment to your experience, in my opinion. And that kind of occurred for me. So what evidence do I have to say that like this film films like it's just being conducted in service of Timothée Chalamet? Well, for the starters, the promotion, right? So the promotion for Marty Supreme started basically a year ago, literally like a year ago today, I would say. And when he tweeted about Marty Supreme, like he had tweeted about Marty Supreme, was like Marty Supreme just wrapped filming me on the way or something like that, right? And then from there, it kind of like, A Complete Unknown was going through its like Oscar press run. So obviously he had to go promote that film that he was kind of pining for in his role as Bob Dylan. And so Marty Supreme kind of was put on the back burner. But then we get to SAG Award Night 2025, right? Where Timothy like walks across the SAG Award stage to collect his award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. And he protested.
I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there.
That he is in pursuit of greatness, right? And associated his pursuit of greatness with the pursuit to match the greatness of like acting and acting legends. Like I know he mentioned like Viola Davis, and I think he mentioned a few other people as well. But then he also said he wants to be seen great in the light of actual athletes, right? And so if you know, like, I don't think anybody at the time knew Marty Supreme was really like a film about an athlete, quote unquote. I don't know if a lot of people see table tennis as like a sport or like call those people athletes, but I would. It's a sport. It's tournaments for it. Why not? So when he's protesting that he wants to be great and he's using these great big athletes in light of that, he's kind of already setting the stage for like this perception that he wants to excel to a certain level, right? And it worked because then right after he made that speech, what happens? Obviously he didn't get the Oscar, but after he makes that speech, I think also Timothee Chalamet like knew like that he wasn't getting the Oscar. Like after he got the SAG award, like I feel like he kind of knew he wasn't getting the Oscar, even though he went to the Oscars and probably was still like, who knows what can happen. Like I think he knew he wasn't getting the Oscar at that point. And I think Adrian Brody was kind of like already a shoo-in. I think everybody like who kind of like I think like Best Actor Oscar race last year was very like dull. Like it was dull, and I think it's dull again this year. But we'll talk about that in a later video when we get around to Oscar predictions. So from then on, the industry responded to Timothee Chalamet's presence in general as like Timothee Chalamet wants to be great. We love him. He's perfect. He's everything that we want in the industry. We want all young actors to be just like Timothee Chalamet. We want them to all be trying to achieve greatness. And in my head, I'm like, okay, Timothée Chalamet is already like great. Like even at that point, like the day before he even made that speech, right? Anyone could talk about Timothée Chalamet and be like, this is one of the greatest young actors of our time. I don't think anyone would be like, Timothée Chalamet isn't one of the greatest actors of our time before then. And especially like, isn't the greatest young actor of our time. I think Timothée Chalamet has held that title for a few years, definitely just this decade. He's been lauded as like the greatest young actor of our times, especially someone under 30. Like when you get to the 30s, maybe there's been some contention in regards to that conversation, but definitely under 30, people have given it to Timothée Chalamet. So for me, I was just kind of confused. Like, okay, like what are we talking about? Okay, so you're gonna make better movies, right? Because if you're an actor and you want, to be seen greater as an actor, you're going to act better and be in like, better films because that's how you become like known as a great actor. People who are in bad films don't get lauded as great actors. That's just not what happens. I know today we feel like that way because a lot of our young stars are in a lot of bad films, but no, if you're going to be a great big star and be lauded as like a great movie star, you have to be in good films, which Timothée Chalamet has been in good films up until today. So it's like, what does that mean? From then on, the pillars of the Marty Supreme tour have been kind of on par with like regular film promo tours, but have been like kicked up in terms of Timothée Chalamet's output for press. He hasn't really done like big major press as he did with Marty Supreme since I would think like maybe like the first Dune. Maybe not even like the first Dune. I'm trying to think like what has he like even done in contingent? Like yeah, maybe the first Dune. I think like him and Zendaya. Like I think they did like a lot of press for the first Dune. I don't think he's done anything like to that level until Marty Supreme. And even then, Marty Supreme's promo supersedes Dune Part 1's promo tour. The pillars of the Marty Supreme promo tour, right, are basically like here. So obviously he tweeted that thing last December that Marty Supreme basically was on its way. And then he does the whole thing at the SAG Awards, like I'm in pursuit of greatness, and makes it a big thing. And then people just run with that because, he's the people's prince. And then so we go all the way down till August is when he really starts talking about Marty Supreme a lot, right? August is past summer. And so he tweets Dream Big. I believe he tweets Dream Big twice. Once the day before the trailer comes out, I guess. And I think it was like an athlete that he tweeted that with, like a picture of an athlete with Dream Big over it. And then again, he tweets it when he's like a little boy with Dream Big over it, right? And letting people know like, oh, like, we're dreaming big. We're going for greatness here with this film. And then literally, the film poster came out. The film poster came out the next day. Film poster comes out. And then the following day, the trailer releases and he posts the trailer and everybody's like, oh my gosh, like Marty Supreme is coming. Like, this is so good. I believe it premiered maybe in August or September. I can't remember what festival it premiered at, but one of those, right? And then we have like in October, he does the buzz cut. He cuts his hair off completely. He does a buzz cut reveal and he pops out. He pops out with a buzz cut and he has like the video with like the whole like men around him who have like the ping pong heads. Speaking of, I really don't understand how Josh Shafty was allowed to market his film with basically like Dragon Ball Z balls. Like, I don't know what the estate for Dragon Ball Z is doing, but the fact that somebody had orange balls with multiple stars on them running around and promoting a major Hollywood film, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, I don't know if they already had cut them a check, if they just don't care over there, if nobody's putting it in their face, maybe they don't see it. But if I was the owners of the Dragon Ball Z estate, I would be like, give me my fucking money. Give me my money. Run me my money right now, sir. So yes, Timothy, he debuts a buzz cut, and then he does like appearances. Like he does appearances, like random appearances with like the bodyguards with the ping pong heads and like his buzz cut look. And then that kind of like leads into like he does this satirical like PR team brainstorming session that's obviously like scripted, but I guess he thought it was smart, or somebody on his PR team thought it was smart, to where they just act like it's the morning when Timothy came to them with an idea. And I think this was about the blimp. I think in that video he like presented the blimp idea to them. And they're all like, oh, it's like 8 different people on the team. They're all young, diverse, very diverse people on it. You know, it's smart guy. And I don't even know if those people really work for him. Potentially they could, but potentially they don't, because I think people who are on it, they're kind of doing a good job at like acting as well. So if they do, then good for them, I guess. And basically the satirical video is like just them acting as if like it's the morning that Timothy came to them with the idea to do the blimp, the orange blimp over LA, I believe that's what they were talking about in that video. And they're just like, oh, okay, sure. And he's just being like very like, you know, arrogant, kind of like, hey, this is what I want to do, make it happen. And they're like, okay, we're going to try to get that done. We should do it the best we can. Like, you know, I think it's him trying to be like, you know, like winking us. Like he's in on like the like absurdity of everything that's going on. But it also is like still being absurd kind of. So don't really know what he was trying to do with that, but that occurred. And then after that, like, then we get to November, right? In November, then he does the Vogue cover. So the Vogue, speaking of, look what came. I haven't checked the mail in like maybe like a month. Honestly, I'm bad. I'm sorry, I'm bad. I'm young. I don't be checking the mail. Everything that needs to get to me needs to come through email, right? Everything that needs to get to me needs to come through email. And so basically I went to check the mail yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna talk about Marty Supreme. I'm going about my life. I go check the mail, and then guess what's in the mail? Timothee Chalamet on the cover of Vogue. And this is in my mailbox. Why? Because some time ago, I had got maybe 2 years ago, I got like a Vogue subscription. It's literally $1. Like it's $1 a month. I got the Vogue subscription. If you do the $1 a month, you get the magazine. And so like I was doing it because there's a lot of celebrities who are in the magazines who I wanted to see. And then I literally just canceled it in November. So like I was kind of shocked when this was in the mail, because I'm like, I literally just canceled it like 2-3 weeks ago. So maybe this is like the last one I'll ever get, and maybe that's another thing. Maybe Timothy sent this to me on purpose. I'm not that important. After the Vogue cover, then he does, okay, so like the date of the Vogue cover, I think it was the exact same day of the Vogue cover, he does this basketball tournament with Adam Sandler, trying to like raise funds for something, I believe, but then also obviously it's promo for his film, and as well as Jay Kelly, which Adam Sandler was promoting. But in my opinion, it's like, I get that, like it's really like a reference, like he did that in my opinion because it's a reference to Adam Sandler doing like Chalamet at the Oscars bit, and then like now they kind of been intertwined with each other. And then they did like another promotional video this year for Marty Supreme, I believe, as well, and they were just talking about like how their careers have intertwined a lot of the times, because I think allegedly Adam Sandler like tried to be like Timothee Chalamet's co-star in Call Me by Your Name. Like he auditioned and they did a chemistry read. He did a chemistry read with Timothy, but I wonder if that was comedy. Like I don't think that was real, because he was like, Adam Sandler was like, oh, like the reason why I didn't do it because like I kissed Timothy in the chemistry test and it didn't feel proper. But I'm also like, I just don't believe Adam Sandler would even be coming to read for Armie Hammer's character in Call Me by Your Name, but maybe I am wrong. And then so you might be asking yourself right now, what is so wrong about all of that, right? Like what is so wrong about everything that you stated? It just seems like he's doing basic promotional tactics. Well, everything I stated was like everything that's like basic promotional tactics for an actor, anybody who's promoting a movie, right? Anybody who's just in the film industry, right? Then you have like this underside. There's like this underside of the promo tour where things just got really weird for me. And I think things got really weird for a lot of people. And what am I talking about? Timothy then starts to do this like niche market promotion. He starts going to like areas and corners that like he doesn't frequent, that he's not a part of, and he hasn't been frequenting or a part of in years. And then he tries to like promote his film through those outlets. But really it's like, in my opinion, it's like, why are you promoting your film through these outlets when like the people who frequent these outlets are not going to come see your film? They're just not. They're not going to come see your film, not if it was the summer and not since it's Christmas. Like, nobody's in the spirit to watch Marty Supreme who doesn't just like film or just really, really like Timothee Chalamet. I'm sorry, like, that's just the truth. And so then what, like, little niche markets am I talking about? So, go through the list. So Timothée Chalamet, he does this like Kendrick Lamar interview, right? Because Timothée Chalamet, if you don't know, if you haven't been on the internet, if you are not a part of Gen Z, Timothée Chalamet, one of the most iconic videos, not iconic, one of the most notable videos for Timothée Chalamet in his career is his like senior year at LaGuardia like talent show performance where he like did a whole bunch of renditions of a lot of rap songs, and then since then people have like kind of like try to associate him with like being like a hip hop enjoyer, whatever that means, like everybody who's alive like in the 2010s is a hip hop enjoyer almost, and like who's young, you know, like, so like it's kind of weird. And so then he does this thing where like this whole entire year he's done this thing where he's trying to push himself into black scenes, like in the black view, like in the view of a black audience, right? And so what he does is he does a Kendrick Lamar interview where he interviews Kendrick Lamar for like GNX, and then also like just the whole like last year for Kendrick Lamar's career, which like took Kendrick Lamar's career all the way to the top. Obviously I'm talking about the beef. And then from April to June, he's seen at all the Knicks games. He's seen at all the Knicks games. Now you're going to be like, well, Timothée Chalamet, he's historically gone to the Knicks games. He's always there. He's like a New Yorker. And it's like, first of all, he's not always at the Knicks games. But he made sure to be at this season's Knicks games because the Knicks were having a good season, a good playoff season, I should say. But then also, Spike Lee's sitting next to him, and he's doing photo ops with Spike Lee every single time he's at the games. And they're like, oh my gosh, look at Timothée Chalamet, and one of the OG legend directors. They're always in good graces, like they're dapping each other up. Then you have Spike Lee, he goes on the Ringer podcast, I believe, and is like, oh my gosh, that boy Timothée Chalamet, I love that boy Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet, X, Y, and Z, good things, right? And it's like, like Timothée Chalamet and Spike Lee, have we seen them together before? Don't think so. And it's like, why now? Why now, Timothy? And then you come down to October where Timothy is on Anthony Edwards' podcast, where Anthony Edwards and his friends crown Timothée Chalamet with White Boy of the Year award. And Timothée Chalamet is on there graciously accepting White Boy of the Year award. Because why? Why? Obviously, Tyler, the Creator, is his co-star in the film. That's purposeful. He didn't just walk across Tyler, the Creator. Tyler, the Creator is not really trying to be an actor. Timothy knows Tyler, and he thinks that Tyler is one of those quirky rappers. There's a section of white people who think that, like, Tyler, the Creator, Kendrick Lamar, Childish Gambino, people like that, like Kid Cudi, Kanye, like the little, like, quirky, like, weird, odd, like, not fully traditional rappers, but also, like, not too, like, mainstream rappers. They think those types of rappers are like very like niche, and like they like if you like them or you're around them, then you have like exquisite taste in hip hop. Like, you know, true hip hop. If you listen to Tyler, the Creator, if you listen to Frank Ocean, if you listen to Kendrick Lamar, if you listen to Kid Cudi, if you listen to all these types, you know real rap, right? And so you see what he's hitting on there. And then he goes on another podcast. With like ex-NFL players, I believe. I'm not giving credence to their podcast. I don't know what that podcast is for. I'll never listen to it. But on there, they ask him about the Kendrick Lamar interview. And then he's like, oh, I actually was scared to do that because like the beef was still kind of live at the time when I did that interview with Kendrick Lamar. And I was afraid that was going to be like my last interview ever. And it's like, what are you alluding to? Like, you kind of sound stupid too. Because anyone who knows, like, Drake's not going to shoot you, and Drake is not going to, like, get your career taken down. And why do I say that? Well, there's proof. So then you get to one of the biggest things is there was, like, somehow this mix-up and people being like, oh my gosh, this little, like, British rapper, which is an oxymoron because British rap is not good. British rap is not good, except for C China. C China is the only British rapper who I'm going to acknowledge. Everybody else, you're bad. You suck. Stop, please. And so this British rapper called SD Kid, there's like some conflation with him and Timothee Chalamet, like some rumors that are like, oh my gosh, like Timothee Chalamet is actually SD Kid X, Y, and Z. Then Timothee Chalamet goes and collabs with SD Kid, and they put out a video like literally a few days ago, like literally last week. It's like a rap stunt. Like Timothée Chalamet does a verse on one of SD Kids' like songs or I don't know or whatever. But it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, Timothy? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not endearing. It's not endearing. It's just not. He then goes on Drewski's show. Could have been records, auditions, and he sits there with Drewski and like, you know, just watches like, you know, black people make a fool of themselves as they do on Could Have Been Records, which is hilarious in the context of the show. But then now Timothée Chalamet's coming on here and it's like, for what? Like, for what? And then, so then what? Drewski could pat you on your back and be like, oh, I like this white boy. You have other things that he does as well, right? So then you have him going to like the college football correspondence appearances. So he's like going on ESPN during college football season this year and being like, acting like he has like high college football acumen and everybody. And then he does this with WWE as well too. So then he goes on WWE and like talks about like WWE stuff and actually has high WWE acumen, right? And it's like everyone is like taking the bait. Like everyone believes that everyone who wants to believe Timothée Chalamet is just like Renaissance. That's what it really is. That's what it really is. Timothy is doing all of this stuff because he wants people to believe that he is a Renaissance man. He wants people to believe that he is trying to excel to the highest heights. That's why he's like, I'm in the pursuit of greatness. I'm in the pursuit of greatness. So that's why he goes and then like he said those actors and he said those athletes in his speech because now he's trying to make everybody feel like, oh, like I really know what I'm talking about. I'm going to go everywhere that I can and let people know that I really, really care about greatness, and everywhere that people see greatness, I'm going to make my appearance. And so they associate me with greatness, which granted, smart, but also annoying and not necessary. But I think the final crux in the whole PR, like promo run for this film, and or especially on the underturn of it all, is where he like literally last week went on Good Morning America and he got interviewed about Marty Supreme, and like they asked him what what is successful in your eyes for this film. What would have to occur for you, Timothée Chalamet, to believe that like you have been successful in your goal with this film?
PR brain on. But the real truth is, with Marty Supreme, I feel confident to the degree that by next summer, I don't know, man. Should I not be saying this? Like, I feel like it'll, you know.
Well, no.
I'm confident. I know what it's gonna.
And then Timothy, like, he does like a PR like thing so he can take a beat and think about it. He's like, oh wait, he's like, he's like, oh dang, I was gonna say like a real thing, not a PR thing, but now I know I gotta say a PR thing. It's like, you know, he gabba. And then he comes out and says that, or he just like alludes, I would say, he alludes that his idea of succeeding would be him or the film taking home the big award, basically. He keeps referencing like, all I know is like by next summer. What by next summer? Like what in next summer is gonna happen? Film season's gonna be over by then. So by next summer, what? Like, is there some deal we don't know that's coming or something like that? I'm confused, Timothy, because in my opinion, it's like all you're talking about is like by next summer, I'm gonna have that Oscar. That, in my opinion, that's what he's saying. Like, by next summer, all I know is I'm gonna have that award in my hands. Whether it's Marty Supreme Best Picture or whether it's Timothée Chalamet Best Actor. And you're probably asking right now, like, why is that bad? Why is it bad? Why is it bad for him to go do all this promo? Why is it bad for him to say he wants to be great? Why is it bad for him to go to all these niche markets and make people think that he's interesting and pry for like their respect? Why is that bad? Because it's all being done in the pursuit of greatness, right? The most regurgitated take of this year in the film industry is like, what's wrong with wanting to be great? That's what everybody who keeps talking about Timothée Chalamet's promo run and trying to like make a case for him, they're like, he just wants to be great. What's wrong with that? Nobody else wants to do it. Why can't he do it? And it's like, that's a lie. It's a whole lot. It's all done in this like pursuit of greatness that he's trying to convey to people, that he himself, that Timothée Chalamet, is doing more than anyone else is doing to try to get to the level of like, I'm the greatest actor on planet Earth. And yet Marty Supreme is not a story about succeeding in the pursuit of greatness. Like, it's just not. And we can just go ahead and get to the third act of the film, which all of my issues stem from, right? So in the third act of the film of Marty Supreme, basically everything, in my opinion, like just like flies off into the abyss. Drops off into the abyss, flies off into the abyss. We leave Kay off where at the end of the second act, after her and Marty have done like some freaky stuff in the park, they go back to her home and he's like, hey, can I just get the necklace so I can pay to get to Japan? She's like, yes, stay right here down here. I'll come bring a new one down. She goes up. She can't come back down because whoever's there is like, hey, there's a reporter on the phone. He wants to do a piece on your show. She goes over, does that. Marty's waiting outside. Marty then comes inside because he's like, dang, she's taking too long. I presume like an hour or so has gone by. He's going up. He goes up, he's looking for Kay. He's like, hey, where's Kay? They're like, she's in her room. He goes to her room and she's crying. She's crying and being consoled. I don't understand. Maybe, and you can fault me for this, if I miss something and I'm missing a part of the film where I explain why Kay is crying, please let me know. He looks in the door, she's crying. Then he's like, ugh, can't go in there and ask her for anything. She's crying. So then he comes back down and then he starts to go into like his Milton plotline. So basically after that, Kay is not seen again. Kay is not seen again after that scene. Another one, Wally. With Wally, we have the whole thing with the gas station and the dog, right? And then like basically Wally's whole like his car gets messed up. It's like also like it's like his car's messed up, but like there's nothing wrong with the car either. Like outside of the glass being broken, like there's nothing wrong with the car. So maybe the glass being broken is what made Wally feel bad, but like or just like being in all of that like chaos at Marty's behest. But Wally leaves Marty, and then we see him when he comes back to the table tennis community center, and Wally's like, Marty, what's up? Before Ezra comes and tells him like get in the car, and then like that's the last we see of Wally. Wally is MIA in the film after that, right? And then we go to Ezra, as I just said. So then Ezra has taken Rachel because Rachel tries to go and get the money herself. She tries to trick Ezra with the dog. She tries to like set him up, and she doesn't realize that Ezra is a part of like mob life or whatever. And so he didn't like that. He's like, get in the car. We're going to go to the dog, or I'm going to basically like cut the baby out of her or like make her miscarriage, whatever. So they go to the house that's out next to the gas station to get the dog. A shootout happens. Everybody dies except for Marty and Rachel. And so then they leave there, right? And so then that ends Ezra's story, which is fine. That's a summed up story. I will give them that. That's the only summed up story, in my opinion, here that occurs. So then after that, we go back to the city, and then Rachel's lies get exposed. Basically, now she's crying. Marty wipes her tears off, but then her makeup comes off. He's like, whoa, your black eye is false. And Rachel's like, oh my gosh, I did make it up. She made her abuse up. But all this stuff that Marty has already whacked Ira over the head because he thought that he was being abusive towards Rachel. But then Rachel already lied about that. And Rachel's like, it is your baby, though. It is your baby. I just knew you wouldn't be with me if I didn't say that he got abused, whatever. He's like, okay. He leaves Rachel. He's like, okay, Rachel, I can't do it. He goes back. He's like, go back to him, Rachel. Rachel goes back to Ira. Cool. She tells Ira. He blows up. Then he tells Marty's family, who live in the same building, that Rachel's pregnant with Marty's baby. And I presume that Ira's like, I'm done with her, right? We leave her there. And then we come back to her at the end of the film, which I'll get to. Then we go to Milton, right? So then Marty is now over in Japan. He's at the exhibition with Kodo. They do the exhibition. He is losing, and then he loses. And then he tells the audience that it was a setup and rigged match. And so then Kodo's like, let's rematch then, right? He gets Kodo to agree to a rematch. Then he's winning. And so now the whole facade of the entire exhibition that Milton wanted to set up is falling apart. Milton comes backstage right before Marty wins. Milton is like, hey, if you do this, you'll never be happy. I promise you. If you don't take this money I'm offering you and lose with dignity, you'll never be happy, or you'll never make it in the world, or whatever, right? And we can read into that. I don't really care to read into that because I think it's really straightforward, right? It's just like evil corporate capitalistic, like figurehead guy is like, hey, you do what I say and then you'll make it in this industry. If you don't, then you won't make it in this industry, whatever. Then there's the crux of the ultimatum there for Marty, where it's like, oh, do I take the money and then potentially take the opportunities that come from losing for benefit, for pay, or do I stick to my own pursuit for greatness and beat Kodo here, knowing that I'll beat Kodo here, even though I know I won't go to the actual tournament and like beat everybody in the world. But if I beat Kodo here, I know that I have beat him on my own accord, and I have success in my own heart, I guess, is what that scene wanted to do. Marty goes that way. he defeats Kodo in the preliminary exhibition match, right? And then Kodo's like, dang. And he like hugs Kodo. He's like, oh yeah, you're a great player. You're a great player, X, Y, and Z. Then we leave Kodo there. Obviously Kodo now is like embarrassed now. And that's another thing, like obviously like Kodo's whole reputation is like shattered now. So that's odd too. And so then we do all of this stuff and we leave all of these people where they were and don't close up most of the things. And like we don't really go back to Marty and his family. We don't go back to Marty and we don't get any closure with Marty and his mother. We don't get any closure with Marty and his uncle who wants some money from him. We don't get any closure with anything else, right? We get back, he gets on the plane with the veterans, he comes back to America, he gets off, he goes to the hospital, the maternity ward, he goes and sees Rachel, who, was having a baby. And so then we see him like console Rachel a little bit, and then he goes to see the baby. He goes and sees the baby, and he like does this very like really like emotional performance. And he, as in Timothy does this very emotional performance when he sees the baby through the glass, and like he like sheds a few tears and like busts out crying, and then like that's how the film ends. Like, that's how the film ends. The film ends on Marty seeing his baby and losing his chances to going to the global tournament. Or maybe not. I mean, technically he can still get the money and go again. But in my opinion, this wasn't... something about this third act just doesn't feel proper to me. It doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel full. Even though we had everything I just mentioned to you, leaving Kay's storyline on the wall, leaving Wally's storyline on the wall, Ezra just being killed off in a little shooting match, the parent dynamics not being like fleshed out a little bit more, the whole Milton thing being summed up to like, hey, a final line of like either do what I say or you're done, I guess. Kodo being defeated, and then all of that just so Marty can go meet his child. The ending just did not feel proper to me, and that's just how I'm gonna feel about it. I think it got to the point where like in the writing, they were just like, let's just make sure Marty gets to where we want Marty to get to and everybody else can be left alone. And in my opinion, I'm like, that's not really what I wanted to see. I know that's what I got, and so I'm not really gonna vibe with it like that. That's why I have so many antsy feelings on that third act, and that's really what's holding me back from really loving this film, in my opinion. The third act is what's holding me back from loving this film, honestly. Like, I like complete stories, I just do, and if you're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger or you're gonna leave it open-ended, then everything that we were seeing needs to kind of be left on a note of closure, per se, or on a note of conciseness. Like, don't let it be like question marks galore. Let it be like, I can see what will happen to them, but don't just like I said, leave us with no explanations of what's going on when we last see these characters. Even Josh Safdie himself, I'm gonna read this. This is what Josh Safdie has said about the ending of the film. Josh Safdie said, I believe the movie is a little bit about seeing your parents before you were born, Safdie said. Like seeing pictures of them and thinking, what was going on there? What was their purpose? Well, I was their purpose. There's a lot of mystery in those paragraphs. You're very sculptable in youth. And when you have a child, I think a part of you hardens. It just does. There's no one person who for the rest of your life will have a strict point of view on you, he added. That the new dream, the beauty of people who manage to remain forever young, is that they can stay sculptable in the context of parenthood and not compromise. I'm going to cry thinking about it, he said, when the subject of his own kids comes up. It's cosmic. Basically, what I just read was Josh Safdie explaining that the ending of the film is supposed to emulate how you feel when you have a child and you realize that like everything that you had going for yourself and all those hopes and aspirations for you are kind of put on hold or like put lower in your life on a lower tier because you have this whole human you have to raise now, and how like that was supposed to signify that Marty went and chose his dignity, but then he, in choosing his dignity in his athleticism, he then had to choose his dignity in his personal life, which means like going to raise your child. And it's like, yeah, that's explainable and that makes sense, but also it doesn't make sense to people like me who don't have a kid. Like, I don't have a kid, and this film isn't about having kids. Like, is that what this film is about? Is this film about having kids? Like, I know Rachel's pregnant and that's a subplot of it, but it's like, is it about that? Is it about growing up? Is it about becoming a grown man? And if that's what the film is about, then okay, I'll accept that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't hate the film. Like, it could be that. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't feel like they did it successfully. I don't feel like if that's what the story is supposed to be, if that's what the message is supposed to be, that's what I'm supposed to walk away from the film with. I don't believe that Josh Safdie, I don't believe you did that successfully. Which goes to say that Timothee Chalamet has gone on this whole big promo tour, and then, protesting, I want to be great, I want to succeed, I'm going to get the Oscar, I'm going to do all this stuff. This is what Marty Supreme means, that you're going to be great, you're going to do all this stuff. And it's like, when I leave the film, I'm like, I don't feel like Marty Supreme was going to be great. Interesting. So then, then I'm thrown off when I'm leaving the film. I walked out of the film like, I honestly was very shocked when the film stopped. When the film stopped, I was like, whoa, we're leaving on that, because Timothée Chalamet is a great actor, and he's a great emotional actor. He knows how to emote and convey emotionality and internal pain and confusion and frustration and breakthrough very, very well. And so when we left it on that scene, which is not one of his best scenes where he's done that, and then it's also just not conveying what the promotional messaging of the film is conveying, and it's also not summing up the story in a way that I feel comfortable with, I'm like, I don't really think I can agree with what I was being presented, and I don't. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Marty Supreme. To give some honorable mentions, I do want to give a few honorable mentions, because there are a lot of things I do like about the film. So there's little minute things. Emery Cohen, who plays Ira Meisler, who was Rachel's husband, give him more roles. Put him in more things. I want to see him in more things. He also was in Roofman. If you've seen Roofman starring Channing Tatum and Kristen Dunst, you're just like me. You have good taste. You have really, 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 really good taste, because not a lot of people saw that film. But he was in Roofman, and he played the Toys R Us worker who was being fat shamed all the time by Peter Dinklage's character, and I thought he was great as a supporting character in that too. I want to see more Emery Cohen, I really do. The honey scene was really interesting, because it was very erotic. It was very it was a tale of nobility, in my opinion, because he's in Auschwitz. The character was in Auschwitz, and he was out there supposed to be doing work and working on bombs for the Germans, I believe. And they let him do it out in the woods, because obviously if you blow up a bomb in the camp, then that's going to destroy things. But while he was out there, one day he saw that there was a beehive out there, and he smoked out the bees and put all the honeycomb all over him. And when he got back into the internment camp, or the chambers, I should say, I don't know the right term, sorry, forgive me, apologies. He let all of the people who were in the chamber with him lick the honey off of them so they could be fed and have sweetness. It was very erotic. And I don't want to read it that way, because I don't want to feel like I'm fetishizing, Jewish people, or trying to make light of their, history. But it was very erotic, and had it been any other context, I would be like, that was a very, very sexy scene. And I'm also like, are there scenes like that in Uncut Gems? I'm like, are there scenes like that in Uncut Gems? Because there are not scenes like that in The Smashing Machine. And so I'm like, Is Josh Safdie just the horny brother? That was interesting. The soundtrack is really good. There's moments in the films where I was going, or things are happening, Timmy is firing on all cylinders, and then I'm like, everything in the background sounds really good too. I'm like, wow, yeah, everything in the foreground sounds really good, but everything in the background sounds good too. It's not best soundtrack or best score of the year, I don't think so, but it is a good quality of the film. Oscar talk. Let's talk about Oscars. So obviously, the press about how successful this film has been going off. Variety keeps putting a puff piece out every single other day about Marty Supreme and Timothée Chalamet. Obviously, A24 has been paying them, in my opinion. Variety literally just released an article yesterday saying that Timothée Chalamet is now the king of Christmas box office. They said that Timothée Chalamet is the king of Christmas box office, and he hasn't had a #1 Christmas weekend box office yet. But he's the king of Christmas box office. So we'll see where all of this promo tactic takes them at the Oscars. Maybe it'll take them all the way. Maybe it won't. I don't feel like it's going to take them all the way. Obviously, I think Marty Supreme is going to get nominated in Best Picture, Best Actor, and a lot of maybe the editing. Josh Safdie, will he get Best Director? He might. He might get Best Director nom. But the only wins that I think that this film is going to take away potentially are maybe some technical wins, but then I think Best Lead Actor is the only thing really in contention for this film. And I think there's still potentiality that Timothée Chalamet could get the award. Do I want him to get the award? I would love for Timothée Chalamet to get a Best Actor Oscar. I would. Especially for a film that's based off just his bravado and his persona in totality. That would be very fitting. However, what he had to do to get to this point, I kind of don't want it to be rewarded. It sounds very like, haterish, I guess, but it's like, no, you need to do it like the most genuine way. This not even his best performance. We're gonna get to the ranking in 1 second. So I'm just like, you need to really go back, give us your best performance. If Marty Supreme had been his best performance, because I don't believe Marty Supreme's best performance, if Marty Supreme had been his best performance, then I would be like, go ahead and give the Oscar to Timothee Chalamet. But it's not. So let's not do that. So that's my thoughts on Marty Supreme. Now let's go into ranking Timothee Chalamet's performances really quick, because I do want to give y'all insight to how I feel, since he is one of my faves. I'm saying he's one of my faves. I have seen all of his films. I believe I do want to give y'all insight to how I would place all of his performances and what I think is his best and what I think is his worst performance. Okay, let's do that. At number 13, we have Wonka. I'm not really going to do a lot talking on this because I have not seen Wonka. I think this is the only performance of it I have not seen. I'm just not going to watch a Willy Wonka film, especially that looks like that. And I don't think anybody else will. I don't know many people who have seen Wonka, and I don't think Timothee Chalamet would even be mad at me for saying I haven't seen Wonka. One day I'll watch it, but not today. So that's all the way at the bottom at number 13. Okay, number 12, we have Interstellar. Okay, so he was young Tom Cooper in Interstellar, and while I think Interstellar is a great film, love Christopher Nolan, but Timothée Chalamet, his role is just too small for me to really put it any higher than this, in my opinion. So it's going to remain at number 12. At number 11, we have The French Dispatch, where he was Zeffirelli. I didn't love his performance in The French Dispatch. What I did love is what aesthetically it did with his performance. The black and whiteness of The French Dispatch was very interesting to me, but it's going to remain at number 11. Honestly, it could be at number 10, because at number 10, Don't Look Up is right there for his character of Yule. I think his character of Yule is more quirky. I think it's more like a more flashier kind of performance than his performance in The French Dispatch, kind of. But you could really swap those if you want to. You could put either or at 11 and either or at 10. I really would not care. Next up, after Don't Look Up at 10, we have Lady Bird at number 9. And so in Lady Bird, he played Kyle Schwebel, and I thought Timothy was fine in Lady Bird. It was a small part. That's why it's going to remain at number 9. I'm not a Lady Bird enthusiast as a lot of people are. I do not think Lady Bird is just this great profound film. I think people who don't really know anybody in Gen Z, people who don't really understand Gen Z, really, really think Lady Bird is this generational film. Or a lot of older people really love Lady Bird. I don't love Lady Bird because Lady Bird does not seem real to me. It seems very, it just seems very fantastical in ways that I don't think something that's trying to tell a coming of age story should be. The next on the list is Dune. When I say Dune, I mean the first Dune that came out in 2021, where Timothy played Paul Atreides. Now, why is that number 9? I would say Dune is at number 9 because I didn't like the first Dune as much as I liked the second Dune. And I think that's for all reasons. I think everything in the second Dune is done at a higher, better executed level than the first one, and I think Timothy's performance in the first one is very subdued and very restrained for the storytelling reasons, but I think his unrestrained performance in the second one is miles better than this one. So it's going to remain at number 8. At number 7, we have A Complete Unknown. So Timothée Chalamet, he plays Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. I saw it last year, right when it came out. I saw it early, actually, last year, before it came out. And I really liked Complete Unknown. I think Timothy did great character work with Bob Dylan in this film. And I have no notes on it, honestly. So really starting here at A Complete Unknown is every performance I really, really love by Timothée Chalamet. From here on out, it's performances that I will rave about, that I could really talk about to people for 2 hours straight. So obviously we have A Complete Unknown at number 7. At number 6, we have Dune Part 2. Now, as I said with number 8, where we had Dune Part 1, with Dune Part 2, it's just a more freer and more daring performance in my opinion. And I think that's just because the film is more free and more daring and more wild in very, positive ways. You have Austin Butler, who's in that film, who's bringing a certain essence to that film that was really needed. But I think Timothée Chalamet matched that essence, honestly, even though a lot of people like to go for Austin Butler as the standout of the film. I think Timothée Chalamet really, really matched that Austin Butler antagonistic energy with his protagonistic portrayal. And I really, 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 really love the character of Paul Atreides now because of his performance in Dune Part 2. Had it just been Dune Part 1, I would kind of be like, I remember seeing Dune Part 1 at home because Dune Part 1 came out in 2021 around Christmas time, and I remember I saw it on HBO Max, and I remember I was watching it on my laptop in my room after I saw Wonder Woman, I think, and Wonder Woman already had soured my taste, and I remember like, oh, I hope Dune is good because like I can't do two bad motion pictures right now. And it was good, but it just wasn't anything I was like, oh, that really made up for like, having to watch the sucky Wonder Woman. But we're gonna leave Dune Part 2 at number 6. At number 5, we have Bones and All, where Timothée Chalamet plays the character of Lee. I love Luca Guadagnino. Like, I'm a really big fan of Luca Guadagnino. Now of his last 2 projects, and I'm gonna make a video about After the Hunt, and we're gonna talk about Luca Guadagnino. But After the Hunt and Queer kind of like took me out of like my love with Luca Guadagnino. But pre those 2 films, Challengers and before, Luca was my number 1 top director in the industry. And so Bones and All was one of the films that I really, really loved. I remember seeing Bones and All really, really late at night, and it was a really, really good screening, and I really, really connected with Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet in this film. I think his character of Lee is really, really endearing. I think it's a really heartfelt film, and I think Timothée Chalamet conveyed the messaging that was supposed to come from his character of Lee very, very well. Obviously, like, Lee met a tragic end in the film, but also he sacrificed himself for the betterment of his love. And I really, really thought it was like beautiful. I really thought it was a really beautiful film. At number 4, we have Little Women, where Timothée Chalamet played Theodore, or Lawrence. And I really think that his charisma is kind of like on 1,000. In terms of all his performances, I think his charisma is the best in Little Women. You could really tell like why the women in the film are like enthralled by him. He's bouncing off of Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh very, very well. And it's really interesting because obviously like he was in Lady Bird with Saoirse Ronan, and I think that he does way better performing with her in Little Women than he does in Lady Bird. And then it's going to be interesting next year to see Dune Part 3, where he will be performing with Florence Pugh. Yet again, even though he performed with Florence Pugh in Dune Part 2, but not really. They were both there, but I believe in the third Dune, they will have actual scenes together where they're like actually dialoguing with each other. And I think seeing the contrast from how he bounced off of Florence in Little Women versus how he does it in Dune Part 3 is going to be so interesting. But yes, his portrayal of Laurie in Little Women is going to sit at number 4. So now we're at top 3. And if you know Timothée Chalamet roles, you know what's in the top 3. Now, I feel like if you know Timothée Chalamet roles, you already know what's at number 1. But given Marty Supreme just came out, you might have Marty Supreme number 1. At number 3, we have Beautiful Boy. Yes, Timothée Chalamet, he played Nick in Beautiful Boy. Beautiful Boy is like you really got to be a Timothée fan to really get Beautiful Boy. There's a lot of people who like, Beautiful Boy was cute, it was cool, but Beautiful Boy did come out in 2018, and I think a lot of people just like don't remember it. I think a lot of people just don't remember it, or they didn't watch it. It was one of those like first like Amazon Prime Video exclusive films, I believe. I don't think it had like a real theatrical release, in my opinion. And it's Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet and, a bunch of other great actors all together. And he's portraying Steve Carell's son in the film, Nick, who is an addict. And he has an addiction problem with, all drugs of any nature. And it's just really, really, really sad film. I know a lot of people don't really like giving credence to films about like being an addict and being like coked out or being high off your mind and things like that, because they feel like it's so easy to do. They feel like a lot of people feel like it's so easy to portray like erraticness. That's why a lot of people discount Zendaya's performance in Euphoria, which I think is still her best performance. But a lot of people are like, you're just being crazy. It's not really you actually putting on a performance. But in my opinion, in Beautiful Boy, Timothée Chalamet, he's doing a very, very great performance of pulling your heartstrings. It's really, really heartfelt. And I know I just said I feel like Bones and All was his best performance in terms of like, being endearing and connecting to the audience, but I think Beautiful Boy is right there with him. I think Beautiful Boy, what he does best in Beautiful Boy is like really, really, he just exudes pain very well. I think that in that film, you're able to sympathize with him as an addict because Timothée Chalamet really conveys like those true internal struggle that's occurring inside of an addict, but inside of his character Nick in particular. And it's really, really just sad. And I've watched Beautiful Boy like 5 times before. Like, it used to really be like my like, I just got done with a semester of school, let me watch Beautiful Boy. I know that sounds crazy, but it was just like, let me just decompress because like they're gonna get it on track, we're gonna see what happens. Like, oh gosh, this is so sad. So yes, Beautiful Boy sits at number 3. At number 2, we have Marty Supreme, where Timothee portrays Marty Mauser. Yes, so I think this is definitely at number 2. Even though I just said I don't really vibe with the third act of the film, even though I said that I don't feel like the writing of the film really sums up properly by the end of it, even though I said I feel like the messaging of the final scene doesn't really hit, even though I said that I feel like that emotional peak at the end of the film is not a peak of any sort, in my opinion. I think there's better scenes throughout the film that Timothée Chalamet is working with than that final emotional teardrop at the baby scene. I think he's really, really going for it, and I have to give him his props and his dues for that. He really is performing in this film, and I think he's really, really charismatic. I think he's really, really witty, and I think he's really, really exhilarating. I think he's really, really, really annoying in a good way, because he's supposed to be annoying. And I think he's doing really, really well there. Even though I think the promo tour was a mess, even though I think it was excessive, even though I think it was unnecessary, even though I think it was kind of nasty to a certain extent, I have to give it to him. He did do what he always does, which is perform. But, you know, until he actually gives me a film where I feel like this is his best performance, I'm not going to give him his 10s.
You can never get that 10, okay? You can never get that 10. But I'll give you about an 8.5. You know what? It's not a 10, it's a 7.
Speaking of, at number 1, we have none other than Elio Perlman in Call Me By Your Name, which was released in 2017. The character of Elio will forever be Timothée Chalamet's best performance. And it's kind of crazy because this was Timothée Chalamet's breakout performance. The character of Elio is Timothée Chalamet's breakout performance. This is what made Timothée Chalamet. I believe this is his first Oscar nomination. Like, robbed. I think Call Me By Your Name was robbed that year as well. It was a lot of robbing going on for Luca Guadagnino and everybody a part of Call Me By Your Name during the 2018 Oscars, in my opinion. But Timothée Chalamet is perfect as Elio in Call Me By Your Name. He is. And I know people have, reservations about Call Me By Your Name for whatever reasons. I don't have those reservations because I watched that film when I was 17, so I honestly was watching that film as pure as possible, and it hits every single time I rewatch it. I rewatch Call Me By Your Name every year. It just hits properly. I think it conveys everything that goes on in a young gay boy's mind, especially when you're just venturing out from high school into adulthood. That transition is really like kind of like you're questioning a lot of things about yourself and about your sexuality and like how you exist in the world. And I think that film properly captures it. And I think it's because Timothée Chalamet properly exuded it. Something in him really, really pushed that out. And I think that I will forever give his performance as Elio its due. I will forever rave about it. It's his best performance. And honestly, it's the best movie that he's been in my opinion, in my personal opinion. I put Call Me By Your Name above all these other films in terms of just films in totality. So that's my ranking of Timothée Chalamet performances. Let me know in the comments how you feel about everything I said in this video, whether you like Marty Supreme, whether you didn't like Marty Supreme, whether you agree with what I said, whether you feel like what I said is stupid. All comments are valid, I guess. That's everything in regards to Marty Supreme and Timothée Chalamet's career so far. If you agree with that, let me know in the comments. If you don't agree with that, let me know in the comments. Maybe I ranked something too high. Maybe I ranked something too low. Maybe there's something I missed that you feel like should be there. Maybe I am stupid and you don't think that my outlook on Marty Supreme was proper, but maybe you do like my outlook on Marty Supreme and we're on the same page and I'm not crazy. Hopefully. And yeah, come January, we'll see if Timmy gets nominated. I believe he will get nominated. I don't think there's any chance that Timothée is not going to get nominated for Best Actor. Oscar, will he win? TBD. I honestly am not going to be mad regardless, but like I said, I kind of don't want him to take it, and I want him to fight more. Thanks for tuning into this video, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.